Welcome, Veritas family. Thank you so much for joining us at Give and Take. I'm Sherry Davis, and I'm here today with Julia Graham. Hi, Julia.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We're glad to have you. Julia is a senior education student, and so we're gonna pick her brain a little bit later. We're gonna dive right in here. Before we do that, if you are watching live or in replay, be sure to tell us where you're watching from. We'd love to know where you are. So, Julia, as you're familiar with Give and Take, we like to ask our guests what is their Veritas origin story or how they became a part of the Veritas family. So dive right in and tell us all about that.
Okay, so my story starts a little bit right out of high school. I went to the Crown College of the Bible in Knoxville, Tennessee, under Pastor Sexton for my 1 year Bible certificate, and I went there and I just wanted to get my roots in God's Word there. And then I came home and got married to my wonderful husband, and we had our first son. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do? And he told me he actually was listening to one of Kurt Skelly's podcasts and said, I heard about this place called Veritas, and you can do it online. And I was like, okay, yeah, that sounds interesting. And I always had a heart for education. I just wasn't sure when and where it kind of was going to fit into my life. And Veritas just was like the perfect fit for me because it's at your own pace. You can go as fast or as slow as you want. And so with all the ups and downs of, having children, the busyness, so it really fit in perfect for me. And so I started a couple years ago after I had my first son.
Okay, well, that's exciting. And so you are, like I said, you're a senior, correct?
Yes.
And you have a couple more terms left to finish up. Tell me, we didn't talk about this a little bit ago, but tell me thus far, what has been the most maybe impactful course or instructor? I maybe have sprung this on you, so
Okay.
sorry about that, but it's something that maybe comes to mind there.
Yeah, so the first thing that comes to mind has to be Penny Edmonds and her class, Christian Literature. I
Mm.
never wanted to cry so much in my life, but it was so helpful. Like, we learned so much in that class. She took me from a really awful writer and helped me to be concise. And like, it's classes like those where it's so hard and like you're
Yeah.
so emotional over some of the things, but you can grow so much. And so I'm really thankful for that class thus far. Definitely the most impactful for me.
Super good. That's really really true. It's the classes that you have to work at. I mean, you are gutting it out. Those are the ones that you'll never forget and are often the most impactful. Yeah, that's great. Michael Raker is watching from West Alexandria, Ohio. Ohio. Hey, Michael, how are
Ohio
you?
represent.
That's right, Ohio. You guys are not too far. Tell me, how far are you, Julia, from West Alexandria?
Oh, I have no idea where that is, I'll be honest.
Michael, tell us where you are in something that she might be able to be able to decide how far away she is from you. You guys are both Ohioans, so let's jump into our Ministry Matters segment. Tell us a little bit about what you want to share with our community today.
Okay, so my heart as a stay-at-home mom who's like doing college classes and trying to serve the Lord as much as possible, my heart is really burdened for bringing your children with you in ministry. I think that's something that we don't see enough of. And there's seasons of life where we have to take a step back and focus on ourselves and our family, but I think too often we get stuck in those seasons of life and it becomes just our normal life where we're not serving because of our family. And you know our children, we want to raise them up for the Lord, but if we only do that in our home, then the outside world is completely different for them. And so for me, I just really want to emphasize the fact that the Lord gave us our children to raise, and if we care about ministry, then they should see that and they should be a part of that. And I've had times where I was strapping car seats into a rickety old white bus, but let me tell you, like, it was a blessing. Was it harder? Oh, so much harder than doing bus ministry without kids.
Sure.
That is something that I want to instill in my children. And I know it's harder and it's more stressful, but our children, when we raise them in that atmosphere,
Mhm.
if we get that balance of family and ministry,
Mhm.
and just emphasize doing it for the Lord and reaching people, I think it'll help our children to have a burden for ministry as well.
A
And
burden for ministry and a love for it, because
yeah,
they'll see your love for it, your
yeah,
commitment to it, and the high value that you place on it. They will see that just because it's not just in the home or outside the home. It's just every facet of life. They'll be watching you as you're ministering. Brian Wagner is watching in Salem, North Carolina. Michael says he's 30 minutes from Dayton, if that helps. We've
a
got
little bit. I'm like 30 minutes from Cedar Point, so
okay.
that's a pretty big place in Ohio. Maybe that'll be
Okay, very good. We've got Leo watching from Romania. Hey, Leo. We've got Denny watching from Antigua. We've got some others that'll pop up here in a bit. So we've got a good group here joining us. And I interrupted you. I'm sorry about that, about bringing your children along with you in ministry, because I think that's so valuable.
Yes. Yeah, no, I just, it's something that was on my heart because I know a lot of times, like, I have a lot of mom friends where all my friends that are about the same age are, entering that season of I have a baby, what do I do? And there's this mentality of that even I had at one point is I'm just gonna be in the nursery. What am I going to church today for? And
Sure.
it's so dangerous. And, stay-at-home moms and even just moms in general, like there's this isolation and it hits, and so it's very important to like reach out to those mom friends and encourage them, like, hey, like I know it's going to be harder, but your child needs to see you in the ministry. And
Mm.
it's just, I don't know how to explain it. It's a difficult season for anyone. And if anyone listening hasn't had children yet, it will be hard, and
Yeah.
no one's going to say it's not. But just do your best to serve the Lord with them, because ministry, I mean, in all honesty, I really don't think it should be an option. It's more like, where does the Lord want me to serve, not does he,
Right.
so
Right.
it'll look different for everyone. And maybe after having kids you don't do the same ministry, maybe you move to a
Right.
different one, but you're still serving and you're showing your children it's not a task. It's not, oh, checked that off. It's, this is my
Mhm.
heart, these people need the Lord, and how can I reach them, and how can I take you with me even if it's more difficult.
Yeah, I think something to go back to something you said, reaching out to other moms to encourage them. Sometimes I think you could take on a mentorship role with some of these other young mothers, even though you're peers with them. You're not necessarily older
Yeah,
than them or in even a later stage. But if you value the idea of encouraging them in this time of life, because you need that as well, sometimes stepping up, and that is also your ministry, even though it's not necessarily, I'm signing up for this. It's not something that you're actually checking a box to do, but it's like if I can be encouraging to these handful of other mothers in the same demographic, that also becomes a ministry. I think that's great. I love the idea that you would take that on kind of as shepherding that group. Brother Wagner says taking them with you is the best thing you can do when you are doing ministry. Dr. Halsey, Dr. Lisa Joyner says, hey there, Julia, watching from North Carolina. She says hello. Yeah, I think that's great. And I think it's super helpful to speak into the idea of it not being easy. I mean,
yeah,
if you kind of pretended like I'm going to bring my kids and I'm going to be this, influencer kind of feeling about it, and you're diminishing the fact that it's challenging. It takes more time, more planning, more stuff. I mean, you are just fully bringing tons of stuff with you. So it's not that it's easier, but it is valuable.
yeah.
And I appreciate your bringing that today. Denny Hastings says, balancing family and ministry is a challenge. We need to have these conversations more often. I agree. Because I think those who are doing it well, again, maybe not speaking to the hard aspect, maybe not bringing the full conversation to light. And I think it's not to be discouraging, not to beat them over the head with like, oh, it's going to be so terrible and it's going to be so hard. But here's how I navigate. Yeah, it's hard. And yeah, it takes more time. But then here's some systems that we have in place or some protocols that we've implemented in our church or in our family that allow them to be able to come. Or if there is um, if you have to tag team with husband and wife, if maybe you're doing something and then because it would be far easier if somebody were home, not if the kids were not with you, but we've managed in this area. I think that's great, and it's a really great conversation. Christy Wright, watching from Berryville, Virginia. Hey, Christy, thanks for popping in today. Julia, tell me what resources or tips you brought for the community today. Sometimes that looks like book recommendations, and sometimes it might be some other time management type resources. What do you have for us today?
Well, I did bring a book today. And it kind of goes with my Ministry Matters topic. It's Making Homework by Paul Chappell. This book is, and it also says, in a broken society. And I think that's something we also have to remember, is that where we are living and the culture it's not good. And so, if we're burdened for that, how do we show our children that burden? And this book, it's really good. It's been helpful to me, and I'll be honest, I haven't read it all the way through yet. I've read the first couple chapters probably like 3 or 4 times. I end up
Mhm.
getting distracted, but I'm still looking forward to finishing the end. But this is something I've been reading, and it's been helpful to me, just reminding me that everything I do as a parent is going to have an impact, and it could be either good or it could be bad. It could be for the Lord or it could be against the Lord. And so everything we do, we'll make mistakes along the way, but as we need to make sure that we're doing everything with intention for the Lord.
Yeah, that's good. And have you found yourself like reading actual books, or as a new mom, have you switched to audiobooks, or have you worked that in, or has that even changed at
Yeah.
all for you?
Yeah, so I've done a little bit of both. I find that every time I'm reading a physical book for school, my son, he's a 2, he comes up and he says, hold you," and I'm like, I
Yes.
can't hold you, Avery,
Oh,
book. So sometimes I use Kindle. It's a little bit easier to swipe on my phone as I read while I hold him,
right.
because for some reason a physical book in my hands, he has to be sitting with me.
He wants to be with you. I know, and it's very challenging as a mom to decide, oh gracious, you just have this mom guilt no matter what you do.
Yeah.
If you're choosing classes, then you feel like you're choosing classes over the kids, or if you're choosing the kids, then you're neglecting this over here. So it is challenging. It's very challenging for sure. Yeah, that's great. Did you have another book for us, or just the one there?
No, that's the only one I have off the top of my head right now, but
Okay, and what about a leadership quote? Something that was impactful for you.
yeah, definitely. So as a Crownie, like I said, I went to Crown for my 1 year Bible. Pastor Sexton was very influential in my life, and one of his main quotes you may have already heard before is about taking the high road. And he says, taking the high road is not choosing between the good and the bad, but between the good and the best, and always choosing the best. And
Hmm.
I've always loved that quote. It's always stuck with me. And sometimes we get into the idea of like, okay, I'm doing good, but
Hmm.
I want to do the best, and that's what's going to give the Lord the most honor and glory. So I really love that quote from him.
Oh, that's good. And it gives you kind of an infrastructure as you're making decisions moving forward. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. It's good. I think I've heard somebody say that good is the enemy of the best. Is like you could choose, because you could always stay in the good
Yeah.
range, but is there a better option?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. What about for you a meaningful leadership moment in your life?
Yeah. Okay. So for this, I'm going to go back a little bit on my testimony here. I wasn't born and raised in the church. I'm a bus kid. I came to know the Lord through a visit at a friend's house. My mom had come over, and my friend, her dad was the youth pastor at the time, and so they were just talking, and he was like, church camp's a week away. Can your child come with us? And then my mom's like, I've never met you before. We don't have any money, but I mean, if you guys can figure that out. And so I went to church camp and I got saved in
Oh,
2016.
wow.
So I've been serving the Lord since then, on and off. And I was going in my freshman year, so I was going to those critical times of teenage years.
Yeah.
And I wasn't always serving the Lord the best that I could. In high school I went to public school, so there was times I got drawn away. And the most meaningful leadership moment for me is when um just knowing that my pastor and his wife were praying for me, and one day they just were driving by my house and they were like, we're stopping. And I didn't want to see them because I wasn't serving the Lord at this moment. I was just like, I was falling away, and they came over and I ran away outside. I was like, nope, I went outside. And I remember that my youth pastor's wife came and she found me. And as mad as I was, I saw the love of Christ in
Yeah.
that moment.
Yeah.
And from that moment on, I was committed to growing in the Lord because I wanted that love in me as much
Oh,
as, and that's where my burden for ministry comes from. And sometimes we see people start to fall away and we're like, oh, that's too bad. But
yeah,
what can we do about that?
yeah.
We shouldn't just sit by and watch it happen. We should be proactive and trying to reach people and bring them in and disciple them.
Yeah, you were the recipient
Yeah.
of very actionable love. I mean, she went and hunted you down. Good for
Yeah.
her. Wow. And so I can feel now why your passion for this, especially bringing your children along. If you didn't have that experience
Yeah.
growing up and you can see the value in that, that I can really see that passion coming out. That's exciting. What a great story. And I am so grateful for those of us in our lives who have gone over and above, more than what is the status quo. They have spent extra time or completed extra tasks or shown extra love in a moment that was super impactful that changed the course, really changed the course of your life.
Yeah.
It really impressed upon you in that moment to be a part of ministry that now you can change, hopefully change and impact some other young person's life in the same way.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's really exciting. I am so glad that you were on here today, hearing your testimony and your passion for ministry, and now as a young mother, um, figuring out how to include the children in that, again, if you are let's say you're a seasoned believer who was in Julia's spot years ago where you were managing life and family and ministry, tell us some protocols. If there was some systems that you guys set up that she might be able to benefit from and that we might be all able to benefit from, tell us in the comments some of the things that work for you guys, because I know that there would be conversations about okay, well, if for instance, if the husband is the pastor but he goes to church earlier, and then the wife is getting the children together and they're getting all of that together, maybe there are some tips and hints to be able to you know navigate that time of life. And as they get older, they get a little bit more independent. Sometimes that eases up. It's not perfect. I mean, there's still children in your care, but when you have little ones, you said yours was 2 and 8 months, is that right?
2 and 1.
Two
Yeah.
and one. So very close together and very, very dependent need on both parents. So I applaud you for bringing up the conversation. Like Denny said, I think it needs to be talked about more because I think we all struggle in that area. So I appreciate your bringing that up. Roger Hanna from Stafford, Virginia. He's alumnus from 2002. Hey, Roger, nice to see you. We haven't chatted in a while. Nice to see you popping in here. Um, well, thank you, Julia. I would like to say, let's talk to the student who might be in your position. So you had previous college experience, sat out for a while for due to just a myriad of life and marriage and kids and all of that. Speak to the student who might be in your situation, who might be a little reticent to jump into classes. Do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, yeah. I think that, a lot of times we get to this position where we're just like, I just don't know if I can.
Hmm.
And the thing we really need to consider is, but can God help me?
Hmm.
Can I do it with the Lord's help? And, there's a lot of things we can do with the Lord's help. And, it might be scary at first and might be hard and learning to balance. When I first started Veritas and I realized that a lot of the classes were 8 weeks, I was like, how am I supposed to do this? It was very difficult. And there were times where I might have had to drop one or two and, just focus on one. And it's flexible. Veritas is flexible. And that's what makes it an easy transition into that, if you haven't been in school for a while. And also just like if you can get a routine down, that's always very helpful. I know I have my morning routine where I always make sure first thing I do is I have a cup of coffee and I get my kids ready for breakfast, and then I sit down and I have my quiet time with the Lord, and then I look, okay, what do I need to do this week for school, and just doing everything you can to organize and plan out for the week, but also being flexible so that you're not too hard on yourself. So it's finding that balance. But yeah, Veritas is it's so nice. And I just appreciate that it's flexible because it changes everything for someone who has a busy schedule and they can't commit to a full class load or workload, and so they, were able to back down a little bit, and then maybe next semester they can, so they go back to taking more classes. um but yeah, I mean, it wasn't necessarily a hard decision for me to make to get back into it, because I did have the desire to continue my education. I just didn't know when. And I think, the Lord just opened the door, and I was like, okay, I'm going with it. So
Here's all the boxes that are being checked with
yeah.
Veritas, and so we're going to dive in. Yeah, that's exciting, and I think that a lot of people are probably in the same category, and that they do feel the call or the desire to get back into classes, but the louder voice that they hear most often is, "I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. I just don't have the wherewithal. I don't think I can do it." And that's the voice that often gets preferred in our brain until someone like you speaks up and says, "You can do this." Because, God's his strength is made perfect in weakness. The fact is, we're all going to jump in as a we none of us can do anything without his help. So if that's the case, and if you're waiting to be able to be good enough, you'll wait forever.
Yeah, that's true.
So thank you so much, Julia, for bringing that testimony, because somebody out there right now, if you're listening and you do have the desire to jump back into classes to finish a degree, possibly reach your goals, message us. We would love to hear from you. We have a whole team who counts it a great privilege to walk alongside God's calling on your life. And so if you need help with finances, you need help with time management. In fact, Dr. Joyner says, yes, organization and planning is key to success in your classes. And she touched on that last week when she was on Give and Take, how some of the most successful students are not necessarily the best students or the smartest students. They're just really good at organizing themselves, because it can be challenging with today's life. We've got Keisha Williams watching from Ghana, South America. Hey, Keisha, thanks for popping in today. Well, to those of you who, just to circle back, if you are interested in jumping into classes, message us. We can't wait to hear from you. Maybe you're somebody who needs to level up. You have a bachelor's degree and you've been toying with the idea of a master's, or maybe you have master's and you're toying with the idea of a doctoral program. Message us. And maybe you're interested in some of our free resources. Truth Matters Institute is a whole website just full of free resources and classes that we offer to those of you who can use it. So these are being used as personal Bible studies. Sometimes they're used as Sunday school curriculum. Message us. We'd love to get you connected with some of our faculty and resources and advisors. We'd love to hear from you. Julia, thanks again for popping in today and carving out some time to be with us.
Yes, thanks for having me.
And to those of you in the community, we will see you next Monday, same time.